Alright guys, so I've already released some people are getting theirs. I want to make sure everyone knows how to install these. These are some custom brake caliper adapters to adapt the KTM 65, Husky 65 front caliper or the Cake Kalk brake setup. So I'm going to be showing y'all how to do it with just it's the same either way, same exact parts. I'm pulling parts off of my Husky 65 just for this demonstration, but you can piece it together this way, just getting the 65 front caliper. If you want a left-hand brake, you would just get the clutch master cylinder from those models. That's what I'm actually running a rear handbrake on this bike and running the same way. And I'm running a little bit different caliper on this, so that's not really relevant. But I am running the same formula master for the clutch, and it works for the brake. Anyway, so like I said, I'll show it with this. But the cheaper way, because honestly, eBay parts and prices are like through the roof on these. People are asking like $300 for just the caliper. From Cake, you can get the caliper, hose, and master for $325. So it doesn't make any sense, I know, but that's the way it is. And if you were to try and piece it together, you'd have to get the caliper, master, and then also have to get a custom-made brake line, which brake lines are about $70. You might be able to get one of these for about $150, and then, like I said, $150 is kind of what you'd expect if you find a good deal on the caliper, but it's just so much easier to buy from Cake. And Cake also has front and rear, and these, if you have the standard mountain bike type forks, like what comes stock on the Surron and what most people are using, it should work on the front. We have checked with the 19-inch front. This is a 16-inch rear. Some people have had clearance issues with the 16-inch rear, so I'll cover some of that in this, how to make some adjustments on it. But it also should directly work with a 19-inch stock wheel. As far as 18-inch, we've had some clearance issues. I'm going to talk about some tips on that, which I guess I can hop into that right quick. Pretty much any of them, if you have issues, the solution, because you have to go to a 220 millimeter rotor no matter which setup you have as a minimum. But if you have clearance issues, I don't know if you can see this, but the spokes actually come inward as they go up. So if you have a little bit of a clearance issue, you can go up to a 250 millimeter rotor, and that will pull your caliper up and get you away from those spokes. So if you're having major clearance issues, there is possibly a workaround. I'm going to work on making some spacers that go with this. So that way, if you are ordering it, I can just throw those in with it. If you tell me that you're going to a 250 millimeter rotor, and we can just go from there. But for now, I'm just going to go over the process of just aligning it. And again, I'm running a 220 millimeter rotor. I want it to stay 220 so I could actually keep using this protector, and because this is pretty much the limit of what I can run. But okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you all the process of putting it on. First thing you do is just obviously pull off your old brake system. You'll be keeping the same hardware. So you got these two, which are a 5 millimeter Allen, and I have a 10 millimeter and a 6 millimeter, but this is just because I'm using some random fasteners. These are a little bit long, but I'll just use this shorter one to secure it. And you'll see that in a second here, but so let's just go ahead and hop in. So simply just install it like you would your stock caliper. Yes, I'm dropping bolts, I know. So you would just secure it ever so slightly. And there's a two-step process to this. This is why I'm making this video. It's not as completely just bolt on and go. But so what I do is I kind of there's like a straight edge here and a straight edge of your bracket here, your bracket to your caliper mount, original caliper mount. So I just try and align those for starting. You still have a little bit of adjustment left if you do it this way. So don't secure it all the way, just kind of snug it up enough to where you can feel it grip, but you can still push it around a little bit. And this rear one you can leave a little bit looser because you're not going to be able to access this one whenever the caliper's on. So that's why you have a little bit of a two-step process here instead of just a single put it on, align it, and clamp it down like you do on a stock mountain bike caliper. So once you have those on, you just come here, slide it on just like regular caliper. And I'm just going to do all this by hand. I'm not actually going to fully secure everything. And you probably really shouldn't either. It's because you're just trying to get, right now we're just working on alignment, so it's going to come apart again. So no need to snug everything up. So once you're on here, you go and check to see if you have any contact between the caliper. Like generally it'll catch somewhere around here, on the bottom of where the pistons would be. So if you're good there, what you would just come here and do is, while this is all still loose, you simply pull your lever just like you do on a mountain bike to try and align it to the center. And once you got that sorted out, nice and centered, you come and torque down this one right here. And that's just to kind of lock the whole thing in place. So you can take it back off. And so you can access that rear one. And there you go. That's it. Now you just put this back on and you're good to go. Now I'm going to go into, so it's as simple as that. If you have a plain Jane setup like mine, then you're done and you don't have anything else to worry about. If you are unlucky or have some tight clearance issues or have a little bit more dish to your wheel, you may run into spoke issues. I know one person had a 16-inch rear wheel and they had clearance issues, so I gave them a few suggestions, and same type of thing. I guess one other note is if you have a floating rotor, you may run into an issue with clearance here. This is the first iteration of the actual machined ones of these. The next batch, I'm going to make a few little changes. These had a little bit of hand working done to them, but the big thing that we found out later after I'd already sent these out is that if you have a floating rotor, that they have the wider section on them where the rivet holds it together. The rivet will actually contact here. So if you have one of those and you have one of these first batch, you may have to just grind this down a little bit. If you have an issue with that, feel free to contact me. I can show you a picture of what another person has done. It's really straightforward. It's only trimming like 2 or 3 mils out of material on the side, so you can practically do that with a hand file. But if you run into a big issue where you are having zero clearance here to the caliper, there's a couple things you can do. One is if your pads are already like maxed out touching the rotor, you can see that there's actually a little bit of piston sticking out, so you can actually bias that. So you would take the caliper off and simply just like as if you someone had grabbed your lever while you had the caliper off, the pistons will spring out. So you'll just have to do the same type of thing. Or whenever you're changing brake pads, you have to do this. You simply just wedge in there. Ideally, you'd try and do it from this side. And push the piston back, and that'll let you come back out this way a little bit more. And you would, of course, have these loose whenever you're doing this test, and try and bias this as far this way as possible. if you got to where you were maxed out here and you still had room here, you could actually come and file these holes in it. Again, in the next iteration, I'm probably going to make these holes a little bit, come out this way a little bit more so people can kind of come out more. And that'll give you that extra little bit of pull back this way. I hope this makes sense, but basically you would push this piston this way and it would allow your whole system to kind of just float back this way. Whenever you secure it, you're farther out and you get your clearance for your spokes. So I think that's really about it. Like I said, you have to run a 220 minimum, or because whatever point you attach it to, basically you need to add 20 millimeters to whatever size rotor that was set for. And I had one question. I guess I'll probably put a post about it at some point, but someone was asking me if I could do a setup like this, but then have an extra bracket at the end to run a regular mountain bike caliper. So that way some people can do dual calipers. If I get enough interest in that, I'll probably go ahead and start drawing that up and test fitting a few. As long as I get about 10, I can at least make it work. I can probably do a batch order of about 20 and get the price down. Let's see, what else? So, like I said, 220 rotors. If someone out there is willing to make a thicker rotor, we would really benefit from that. Because another thing with these is that whenever you start biasing it to one side, you start having your piston come out a little bit more than what it's intended to. So if we can, because these rotors are already really, really thin. These are the thickest I could find for 220. They're 2.3 millimeters. The stock rotors are like 1.8. So but the KTM parts are I'm actually running a KTM front. I don't know if y'all can see this, but this is a full 3 millimeters thick. So if we can get a 3 millimeter or even a 2.5 to 2.8 range thick rotor, it'll give us a lot better braking. So hopefully someone out there can come up with that. It's honestly, there's so many people making brake rotors. I'm sure that there's someone that can just start cranking them out. But I figured we have a reason to use them now. We're not using mountain bike brakes on these anymore. So anyway, let's see. I think that's about it. So like I said, pretty straightforward. Just simply loose secure this, put the caliper on, align it with the brake lever, cinch down this one, pull the caliper back off, secure this one, and then put the caliper back on and secure it, and you're done. Once again, the big meat of the section is if you have an issue with aligning that caliper. Hopefully I've outlined the process clear enough. But again, if anyone has issues with it, feel free to reach out to me. The more I find out about issues that people have, the more I can fine-tune these in for the next batch. I still have about 30 of them left at the moment, so feel free to reach out if you want a set. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Let's get these better brakes on the bike for a change so we can actually slow down. All right. See you later.